If you are reincarnated, it's because there's something you're missing.
What ails thing?
I am missing something.
Is it your dildool, mistress? For I found it under the bed.
It is not mine.
I was writing my second film and I just thought the world is in quite a disastrous place. There's a lot going on. I might never get to make another film. So how do I put everything I like into one film? And that was through reincarnation. And then I just had fun sort of creating this character, this obsessive character who is nothing like me whatsoever. It's completely different. I'm not like that. How do I take this character on a journey through time and sort of subvert the rom-com kind of genre, really?
It's like we're meant to be together.
For the love of my lives.
But we keep getting separated. You do not want me to be enlightened.
I've been acting quite a while and you get used to doing certain roles and you know, you're quite good at this kind of bumbling best friend idiot thing. And I think once you get I think I really enjoy Prevenge and Sightseers, and I loved Alice and Garth Marenghi, and we worked together on Hot Fuzz, and I was just not jealous, but you know, I think you got to do really cool things, and I kind of really like that. And I think I'd sit at home and think, oh, she gets to make cool films, and then I think I'm still at a place where when my agent phones me up to say, oh, Alice would like you to read her new script, or you're like, oh my God, this is great, you know. And then you read George and you're just like, yeah, I'm in. I want to do something weird and dark and violent and funny and gluttonous and, you know. So yeah, I was just like totally in.
What good is an enlightened woman?
Yeah, for me, I obviously knew of Alice and her work, and I felt like, being sent the script and reading it, I felt like it was really refreshing, really original, and I just knew that Alice was going to put a stamp on a movie that she's created, which will be extremely original and unlike anything else, and, you know, quite risky and pushing its own genre, you know, and its own backstory, and I just felt like it was a really good ship to get on, you know, and go sail. And I wanted to be in the environment with somebody who's creative like that and do something that I'd not been allowed to do, really. So having the trust of Alice to come in and be a part of, you know, her fantasy, her imagination, and get to play around with that in the workplace was just, it was a no-brainer.
You look like an arse.
It's a heart. Do you not like it?
No.
I mean, the challenge was always going to be, how do you make it feel like one story, even though there's lots of different eras? And so, you know, emotionally, you're trying to tell one story, and really it is one story. And it's just an illusion that it's fragmented into lots of different eras. So I think really it was about people grabbing it with both hands and feeling like they would enjoy it. And then the audience will then have that pleasure translated of like, how are they going to be in this era? How are they going to pop up? Like, you know, the challenge was to bring the cast with me on that journey and be as excited as I was, because I love it. It's playing dress up. It's so fun. How could it not be fun? You know, and then the sort of darkness is then lurking underneath that, which is sort of the actor's darkness as well, of like, what are you trying to hide, really, with these personas that you're playing, with these fancy costumes you're wearing and masks and wigs and all of this. You're sort of trying to hide your flaws a little bit, which people can't get away from. And, you know, the joke is that even if you die and are reincarnated, you still can't get away from the same problems which are inherent in you. And to me, that was something about the human condition, you know. It's hard to change, essentially.
You die so he doesn't have to. Maybe it's time to turn the tables.
For me, with Alex, it was like me as an actor, as an Aneurin, I often go, when am I going to be found out that I'm a fake? You know, and I felt like that was really captivated in Alex. I was just like, I think that's its undertone, is like, when am I going to be found out that I'm actually just a fake? So that fell into this world quite naturally and quite nicely, because it's like all about hiding smoke and mirrors, you know, and and being slightly lost, you know, and what are you really searching for? Which is kind of the theme for all the characters, really, of their discovery of their own self in some way.
I don't want to die.
It doesn't hurt that much.
Till death do us part.
It's a lie, it does really, really hurt.
I think it started with George the dog, and then for me it was like, well, what parts of George the dog go into, you know, 17th century George? And it was kind of finding that thread that went through all of them, you know. Plus, you know, if you think about where they were in their societies in terms of what's the norm. So, you know, screaming George with syphilis wouldn't have lasted long in Second World War George, you know. So you're kind of sculpted, shaped by what society would allow you to do as well at that time. So by the time we get to George in the blue suit, you know, he's kind of, his lunacy has kind of been bred out of him, but he's still deeply flawed, and that then is different from Screaming George. You know, he's broody. Get wrap it up. He's broody, you know, narcissist. He needs to let, you know, she lets him go in the end, and that's his redemption. That's his. And George shouldn't be redeemed. He's a monster, but he is at the end, and that's the beauty of acting too, where you can play a character who's an absolute a-hole, but he is released at the end. And,
I mean, that was
free.
that was the fun of doing something about reincarnation. Is you're sort of going, well, you look at, you know, you start to zoom back and look at all of time, and you sort of go, we're really not into redemption at the moment in our society. We don't forgive people, we cancel them. And when you zoom back and go, well, how long does punishment last? Does it last 100 years or 200 years or 400 years? And then you have sliding ideas about society, what is acceptable or not acceptable, and that changes within 20 years, 10 years, 50 years, 100 years. So you sort of, you know, I was kind of going, what stays the same? And really it's humanity, and everybody's flawed, and everyone makes mistakes, and everyone has a bad time, and those traumas manifest themselves in different ways. So it's kind of about, you know, humanity and people, and also trying to feel an affection and a sort of empathy for all the characters, really. They're all screwed up in their own way. I love watching films in the UK because quite often, you know, I've made 2 other films and they've all had cinema journeys and, you know, festival journeys, and you show it in Switzerland or Korea and you're amazed that people are still laughing and enjoying it, and you're sort of like, wow, humanity is really universal in that way. Like, there might be tiny nuances that don't translate verbally, but generally comedy does translate. But then having said that and having all those amazing experiences, you then show it in London and it is an amazing feeling because it's like a home crowd and it's always joyous. It's really lovely.
Yeah, you don't have to, there's less of a fear of them, like an audience understanding when you go other places, you know, because culture's very different. And this is a very British film, I think, but it has the identity that to connect with anyone around the world. But to have it here, where it's been made, to have it released now, it's kind of like the last link in the chain, you know what I mean?
Well, it's interesting as well, because I think that sometimes we can have a bit of a self-loathing creatively in this country, especially because the economy is not great at the moment and we're struggling a bit with with artistic funding, that we can feel a bit down on our own culture. And I think, you know, the UK has so much to give creatively. There's so much talent here, so much comedy, so much humour. And to me, it's just like, we can make beautiful things. We can make amazing things. And it's, you know, this doesn't have a big budget, this film, but hopefully there's a lot of punk ethos and inspiration in it, that it should feel uplifting to the audience, I think.
Where have you been?
Changing my fate.
Looks like you just, I don't know, had a perm?
Thank you for watching Picturehouse Cinema's unique video content. Hit the subscribe button to be kept up to date with our movie news, cast and crew interviews, highlights, trailers, and lots more.